Guys, Asa here. Welcome to another review. Today I'm going to talk about an exclusive review of a fragrance house which doesn't get a lot of talk. It's called Jovoy Paris. Now, before I start the review, let me ask you a question, right? This is a tobacco fragrance. So how many of your tobacco fragrance are unsweet? Yeah, most of my favorite tobacco scents are actually sweet, and they're sort of damp tobaccos. So to name a few, I'd start with Chergui. I love Chergui. Herod, absolutely fantastic, but it's sweet. Pure Havane, everybody loves it. Heavy tobacco, heavy honey. Hugo Boss number one, very heavy honey and tobacco. So most of my favorite tobacco fragrances, apart from just a few, Versace Dreamer, that's a dry tobacco, and Pure Havane, Havana by Aramis. That's a green tobacco, slightly dryish. So there are very few which are dry, which are not sweet. So I wanted to find a fragrance which is tobacco, fine tobacco, and tobacco plays a major role, but it's not sweet, right? And it's very interesting. So let's start. It's called Les Jeux Sont Faits. Now my French is not very good, so I went to Google and transliterated it, and it means games are made. So here is the presentation. It comes in a box like this. This cardboard box has got some pattern which looks like leather. There is nothing to, all packaging is the same. I've got three of these. They're all the same. So this is how it comes across. At the front you have the name of the fragrance. Bottle is beautiful, very heavy, and the packaging, the cap is very, very heavy. Clearly says, and here's the name of the fragrance. Now, I've got three of these, and Jovoy are very, very creative. Here is a look at the Atomizer, fantastic. Everything is premium quality, but you don't pay premium price. This is a 100 ml bottle. I think it comes for about 120. But I got it when it was discounted, so I got it for about 90 bucks. Notino is my place to go. The moment you spray this fragrance, guys, you're going to be greeted with something fresh and green and bitter. Now, the first time I sprayed this fragrance, I was very confused as to what I was smelling because it was very bitter. And it's been a while since I've left drinking, so I'm not a drinking man anymore. I left it in 2011. But I could guess that there's some alcoholic notes in here. It's basically gin. I've never had gin, but what it smells like is something which would be classed as white rum, spiced up. And Angelica. Now I love Angelica because it's very green. It's very sprightly, almost like mixing green and sort of fresh fennel and anise together. That sort of thing, that sort of smell. Along with, there's no tobacco at the moment. There's this beautiful note of dry fruits. And in spite of all these notes, this fragrance is not thick and resinous. It's very fizzy, like champagne. It's gaseous. It sparkles, literally. Now I'm getting the tobacco, literally about 10 seconds after spraying. It's all mixed in, beautifully blended. But what you get is a spicy, fizzy, boozy tobacco, dry, and there is no sweetness in spite of that dry fruit note. And the very first time I sprayed it, I loved it because I've not smelled anything which smells like this. And another thing that got me was how light the fragrance was. It's, in spite of these heavy notes, it's literally like a thin sheet floating on your skin. I call it sheet because it's got, if you wave a sheet, there'll be a ruffling noise. It's a noisy fragrance, it's not quiet. Beautiful. When the tobacco joins the party, it's beautiful. Very, very attractive, Now the fragrance carries on like this for about half an hour, and then there's a shift. And the shift is, it loses its fuzziness, or fizziness, I should say, and it gets a little bit of amped up spiciness. And that spiciness is cumin. Now, cumin tends to, this is about 1.5 hours dried out. cumin tends to worry people because cumin normally, sometimes people associate it with sweaty armpit smell or curry. Now this cumin has got that, imagine there's a fruit conserve, yeah, and you put some spiced up thingy into that conserve, and cumin is part of it. So it's not amped up, but it's mixed with that dried fruit, as if it's a very spicy relish you're applying on something like a piece of bread, and you're about to have it. That's the kind of spiciness. It shouldn't perturb you. There's no animalic aspect in this fragrance at all. When the fragrance dries down, it brings out two notes which are there along with the tobacco and the booze. And those two notes are sandalwood and patchouli. That gives this fragrance, or maintains this fragrance, on the path of a masculine, strong masculine. But it never becomes heavy or thick. It's got good longevity, but it never becomes thick or heavy. It maintains that thin sheet like texture, if you like. Very interesting, smells amazing. That tobacco note is a very fine tobacco. And it doesn't remind me of anything that I've got in my collection in terms of that tobacco note. In fact, the whole fragrance doesn't remind me of anything. So very unique as well. Now let's talk about pros and cons. So number one pro is the actual sex appeal of this fragrance. The fragrance is very masculine, stylish, and sort of reeks wealth. You know, one of my friends on Instagram, when I put this on Instagram, commented that this smells like a gentleman's club. Actually does. And non-smoking. The tobacco doesn't smoke like a cigarette smoke. So non-smoking gentleman's club. You smell fine things, you know, and you're about to have your meal in that club. That sort of thing. It's not a gourmand, but it's all mixed up, creating this very sort of many ambient smells coming along together with that boozy tobacco, dry boozy tobacco. That's number one pro. It's very unique, smells wealthy and classy. Yeah. The second one will surprise you. In spite of having all these notes, this is sort of a pick-me-up kind of a fragrance. This is a fragrance which will make you happy for whatever reason. You know, imagine yourself going to a nice club, having a chat with your friends, just sitting there and getting to know them. So that sort of, in itself, when you're getting ready to go to the club, in itself will lift you up. This fragrance has that quality. It lifts you up. I really like that quality in this fragrance. And I get this feeling in every weather. I got a bit of patchouli here. It's earthy and it's not very dark. And the third one is the versatility of the fragrance. See, this is a fragrance that you can comfortably wear to a party, or you're going with your friends, or you can even wear this to a date. It's masculine, stylish. Yeah, there's an element of style in here. So for a first date, if you're dreading to wear a sweet fragrance or a fragrance that your prospective girlfriend might recognize, this is one unique fragrance you can try. Now the downsides. Wearability. You can't wear this to work. You can't wear this in summer. So it's a cold weather evening scent. But when I say evening, it doesn't have to be a formal occasion. So it's decent wearability, but it's limited. Number two I can think of is it's not a beast mode fragrance. So let's talk about performance, right? Longevity is about 8 to 10 hours. But my skin is very good. I get longevity, decent longevity from most fragrances. So 8 to 10 hours on my skin. In terms of projection, moderate. So you would get about an arm's length of projection for the first 1 or 2 hours, and after that it recedes. But it doesn't become a skin scent. It's still a decent bubble, half an arm's length. So decent projection for about 3 hours, and then probably a skin scent after that. But longevity is good. Sillage is very good. The quality of the fragrance is so high that you get a very decent kind of a scent bubble if you wear this under your shirt or on your shirt. No problems at all. So, but projection might bother a few people who want to wear this to clubbing. Yeah, and you can wear this to clubbing. But yeah, that could bother you. So that's the performance aspect. Now let's talk about age groups. Age groups, I would say this is a mature scent. So 30 plus would be my guess. But if you have a mature personality, who says you can't wear it? Yeah, wear what you like. I'm trying to give you the best aspects of the fragrance and how it smells like for you to gauge if you want to sample it or not. So I think I've covered all aspects. Marks out of 10. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. This is a very fine, unique tobacco scent, which has got slight wearability hindrances, if you like. So I've taken a few marks out. The value for money is decent. Yeah, this kind of unique fragrance, high quality stuff, beautifully blended. There is literally nothing to complain about if you're looking for a decent niche. But still, it's not one of those fragrances which is earth-shattering, but one that you should try. 7 out of 10. Hope you like the review, fellas. Take care.